I'm gonna turn these 3 animated movie posters into horror, starting with Hoppers. First, let's import the original poster. Now I'm gonna get Mabel from this image of the trailer using select subject. I'm masking a part of her face and positioning it on the beaver. For this poster, the idea is that the device malfunctioned and Mabel became a mutated mess. I'll carefully warp the face to match the angle of the beaver's head before masking a clear transition between the two. But that's not very dramatic or disgusting yet, so I'm gonna look for a close-up of a steak and then warp it to follow the transition. Now we just have to paint it alongside the skin. You might have noticed that Mabel's face has an eyebrow and there's part of the beaver's above. I'm just gonna remove it real quick so we don't have 3 eyebrows for no reason. It still looks too clean, so I'm gonna paint fur on top of the transition, and it could use a couple of stitches as well. While I'm at it, I'll fix the part where her hair meets the fur with the same brush. But the beaver looks really happy, and we can't have that. So let's liquefy his mouth to get a more fitting expression. And since it stretched some of the fur, I'll stamp the texture back on top of it to make it look cleaner. Obviously, the eyes should look scared as well, which means we need to erase the original pupil and draw a smaller one looking right at us. And we have to do the same thing to the human eye as well. By the way, if you don't subscribe, this is gonna get way worse. To really make it as gross as possible, I'm importing these 3D guts and warping them in place of his foot. I told you it was gonna get worse, you should have subscribed. We need to make the transition a bit smoother by painting fur on top of it. And to really match it to the rest of the leg, I'll stamp some texture onto the fur.
Nice job, team.
Of course, the guts are casting a shadow on the ground, which we're gonna paint. And why not add some suspicious red liquid onto it and coming out of it too, which would probably form a small puddle underneath. 2 mutated areas doesn't seem like much, so I think we should add a human hand as well. And as usual, cover the transition with fur. And if he got guts coming out of his legs, I'm gonna guess his insides aren't doing so great. So I'm painting some tomato sauce onto his mouth and teeth. To symbolize the device not working well, we gotta make the lights red. And it wouldn't hurt to add some electricity and smoke over the cables as well. But I want this to look like it's mid-transformation, so I'm adding some nice light rays coming out of the base of the device.
Flotation device for the seat.
So this is the horror version of Hoppers. The next poster is Lightyear. Let's start by importing the Chinese version of the poster and cutting out Buzz using select subject. Now I'm gonna paint a green background and add a nice highlight in the middle. But we can still see the title on his leg, so I'll cut new ones out and replace the original. We do need to adjust the colors a little bit for them to match the rest. The idea for this poster is having the alien vines you can see in this scene choking Buzz out. And this means we need to get rid of his bubble helmet. First, I'm cutting out another plastron with no fishbowl. Then I'm warping it to match the original and erasing the leftover glass. And now we can color match the plastron to the rest with color balance. But I want to emphasize that it's been broken, not retracted. So I got these glass fragments that I'm gonna position and warp around the helmet. Mr. Lightyear here doesn't look scared, but he should be. I'm cutting out the new mouth and then spending 10 minutes trying to blend it in. I want to give him wide open, shocked eyes, but for some reason he's always frowning like Dwayne Johnson in a bad action movie. So we need to raise the original eyes and cut out the eyebrows. I'll quickly warp them and focus on drawing new eyes. I'll paint a general shape first and then go around the outside to give him eyelashes. Now I'm painting a circle for the iris, giving it a darker outline, putting a black dot inside of it and adding a reflection. And to finish the eyes off, I'm applying some grain to match the rest. The problem is, I really underestimated the power of eyebrows when it comes to displaying emotions. So I'm warping them again to make him look more scared. If we want the vines to choke him, I have to draw them myself, because I couldn't find any usable image anywhere on the internet. Now comes the most satisfying part of the design, shading the vines to give them volume. I'm also gonna add a nice dirty texture on top of the vine, and I think this bumpy texture would really help too. We have to mask Buzz's chin out so that it is above the vine. And of course, if you know me, you know that we need some tomato sauce in there, coming from his mouth and nose, but also some splatters onto his armor. Obviously, if he's choking, his face will become purple. I don't think he would be T-posing in this situation, so I'm getting rid of his arms and cutting out a new one from another poster. I'm gonna color match it to Buzz, but there's still one missing. So I'm cutting it out manually and placing it so that it is reaching for the vine. By now, you probably noticed that the vine isn't very visible on that green background, so I'll change it to purple. And just like that, here it is. Tell me in the comments if you prefer the green or the purple version of this poster. Our final poster is Finding Nemo. I'm gonna paint the background blue and then import corals from the movie. I'll blend them in and add a gradient. Then I'll import Nemo, flip him horizontally and cut him out using Select Subject. And because of what I'm planning to do, we have to puppet warp him a little bit. By the way, did you see this? Well, you can get one for yourself, or maybe a Nice Job Team mug, by clicking the link in the description. And with the code DESIGN15, you can get 15% off the entire website. Thank you so much for your support.
Nice job, team.
So the plan was to cut out a real photo of a hook and place it on Nemo, but this looks really bad. So instead, I'm drawing one myself. Obviously, it needs some shading, so I'm drawing solid colors and giving them Gaussian blur. If a hook went through his face like this, I'm pretty sure the eye would be gone. So we'll conveniently replace it with a hole. But don't worry, he still got his eye, it just popped out of his skull. Nemo looks way too comfortable. Let's duplicate his mouth, flip it and blend it in. Now I can erase the pupil of his good eye and proceed to make a new one. If you really think about it, the hook should be pulling Nemo up, so it definitely shouldn't be sitting in the middle of his eye, but rather up here, and that would stretch his skin a little bit. We really need to do something about this hook, because it looks like plastic right now. In order to fix this, I'm applying a metal texture on it, followed by a nice rusty one. But we did lose some volume, so I'm shading it once again, and applying a color balance adjustment just for good measure. We could add a wire holding the hook, but to really fit the horror theme, I think I'm gonna go with a nice chain. And because nothing is ever simple, I had to do a bunch of duplicating and warping to make it fit. I'd like both sides to look the same, so I'm making the dangly one bright and replacing the pupil with the one I drew earlier. I got this nice blood and water image that I'll need to cut out. Now I'm playing around with blending modes and masking it to make it nice and realistic. I just gotta add the title, but wouldn't it be funny to call it Fishing Nemo instead? If you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you're gonna love to see me make Ice Age into horror in that one.